The 417Gamers is a group of board, tabletop, and card gamers in the 417 area code. This is the podcast. Welcome to the 417 Gamer Podcast, episode 25, The One with Learning. We are joined by Saunsu. You can often find her at Village Meeple teaching them games. She sits in for this one. In the 4, we talk about 4 games that we've been enjoying recently. Cascadia with the Landmarks expansion, Rock Hard 1977, Winter Kingdoms, and Vikings. In the 1 topic of the show, we talk about learning games. Saunsu has to learn a lot of games because she likes to teach games for Envoy, demo games at Village Meeple, and Barnes & Noble, and many stores in the 417 area. And then in the 7, we talk about our 7 memorable games to learn. Let's get on with the show. Welcome to the 417 Gamer Podcast. My name's Rick.
And I'm Andrea.
And we're joined by a guest. You can find her at Village Meeple most days. She's a fixture teaching games. Saunsu, welcome.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
In the 4, we talk about 4 games that we've been playing recently. Andrea, would you like to start us off?
Yes, we this week played Cascadia with the newest expansion.
The Landmarks expansion.
And we, of course, have played Cascadia many, many times. And the expansion, I'm still on the fence about it, quite honestly. There are several cards that are landmarks, and they are different, like if you have a grouping of 6 wetland tiles, you can choose to pick up one of the landmarks, and they can be different scoring attributes. Like one is just a straight 3 points, or one might say add 2 spaces to your longest continuous habitat of this wetlands or whatever it is. There were a couple times where I qualified for that, but I got more points by not taking the landmark, but by continuing to focus on my animal configuration for points that you do with the original Cascadia. And Rick even asked me after, he's like, you didn't collect some of your landmarks that you could have gotten. I was like, and I ended up winning, so I know my strategy was correct, obviously, because I won. But I focused more on the original animal placement than I did the landmark. So I'm not sure, at least for the tiles that came out and the people we were playing with, and they were getting the landmarks. But I think for me, I only ended up placing 2. But it did add some new tiles to the game, some more hex tiles, and they have a little mountain symbol on them. So if you want to pull the expansion pieces back out later, you'll know which ones they are. But they are the same original wetlands, mountains, rivers. There's no new habitat added by the new tiles.
And no new animals either.
Right. So I'm still on the fence about it. If you have just played the ever living daylights out of Cascadia, but you still like it and you want to mix it up with something new, spice it up with this new edition. But I don't think it's something overly a big wow factor.
Not a have to, but
yeah, if you want to. I don't have anything against it, and we enjoyed looking at all the different things that it presented possibility wise, but I'm not saying everybody need to go get it.
Also, I would say if you like Cascadia and you want to up your player count, because this pushes Cascadia to play 5 and 6.
That's true.
Original Cascadia out of the box plays 1 to 4.
Yeah.
So if Cascadia ends quick enough for you and you don't mind adding on 5 and 6, because 5 and 6 will probably push it to an hour.
Yeah.
Because 1 to 4 is about 30 to 45 minutes for Cascadia, which feels perfect for that game. But the expansion with 5 and 6, I can see the extra turns going around, pushing it to close to an hour.
Or if you have a bigger family, it's a good family weight game.
Absolutely. Cascadia is published by Flat Out Games. It's distributed by AEG in the U.S. The artist on this is Beth Sobel, and she does amazing art.
Yeah.
You get 3 new scoring cards for each of the animals: the bears, the fox, the hawk, the salmon, and the elk.
They are the same format and type of scoring card as the original cards. They're just new configurations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's designed by Randy Flynn. This came out in 2021, and Landmarks just came out this year. Mm-hmm. Saunsu, what have you been playing?
I have been playing a lot of Rock Hard 1977.
Yeah, Carl talked about that last month, but he just was trying to learn it. He hadn't got it to the table yet.
I have played it 7 times now.
Wow.
That good?
It is very good. They did a very, very good job with it. But I would have to say that, so we played it at 2, we played it at 3, and my gamer buddy Rick wanted to, because the board is double-sided, so to play the other side, you have to do 4 to 5 people.
Oh, yeah.
And so he really wanted to experience it at the 4 to 5 people. And so we kept playing until we got a large enough group. And so between us, we would teach everybody how to play it, which is usually how it goes. But yeah, it's a very, very good game. I will say it will reach a point where it will need an expansion to keep its playability and not get stale. But other than that, it is a very good game.
We've been very happy with the offerings from DeVere Games. And this is published by DeVere Games, designed by Jackie Fox. In the previous month, we reviewed Cities, which is Michael Kiesling and Phil Walker Harding, I think. Phil Walker Harding at the very least. Anyway, we enjoyed that. We don't review games that we don't enjoy. And then... love Red Cathedral, like White Castle. I love White Castle. She likes it. Sand was okay.
Yeah.
Good art. And it was unfortunate that we played it directly after Maple Valley.
Right.
Maple Valley, very cute, very easy and approachable. Sand, obtuse, and punishes you the whole way that you're trying to do things. Are you trying to pick up a thing? Well, it's going to be harder. Are you going to try and deliver 2 things? That's even harder. Maple Valley's like, oh, did you get a bug? Good.
Good job.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to move to that.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Winter Kingdom. Really like Kingdom Builder. And Ben in our group has Winter Kingdom, which came out in 2020, published by Queen Games, designed by Donald X. Vaccarino. It's similar. It's the same gameplay where you're going to pull a terrain tile and you take 3 buildings and you place the buildings on the terrain tiles, following the rules that if you can, you must play adjacent to previous played buildings. And then there is 3 global scoring cards that everybody's trying to achieve. What this does differently in the original Kingdom Builder, when you put out the 4 tiles, there are powers on each of the tiles and everybody's trying to race to get those powers. Instead, in Winter Kingdoms, they took people's favorite powers from all the expansions of Kingdom Builder, kind of cleaned them up a little bit, and everybody gets 5 powers that they have to buy. And the way you get money is trying to build your settlements on the outside of the map, which a lot of times won't push you towards the cities and the towns for end-of-game scoring. So you want to put buildings on the edge of the map to get monies, but at a certain time you need to switch and start trying to go towards those cities and towns for the end of game scoring for those. But those powers can be pretty strong. At the end of your turn, you can buy 1 of your 5 powers or upgrade it. Once it's upgraded, some of them are a choice. You can do either or. Some of them are a if-then statement. If you did this, you can also do this. It's a maybe. But just like Kingdom Builder, towards the end of the game, you have people that have a whole bunch of actions they can do. So the front of the game is pretty quick and breezy, and towards the end, it can really AP the crap out of people. But art is really nice. Instead of kind of square-ish boards, it is 7 hexagonal tiles with hexagons on them. They're double-sided. You kind of shuffle them together and flip them as you want. Put 1 in the center. And surround it, and you go. It's really enjoyed it, but I don't know that it's going to replace Kingdom Builder for us, because for us, Kingdom Builder is family weight. It is the ceiling for some of our family members, but they do enjoy it. Where Winter Kingdoms is a bit more, and I think it's a bit too much for them to keep track of.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to leave that with some of the friends in the 417Gamer group that have it, and we'll gladly play it when they pull it out. But I don't think it needs to go in our collection. Yeah. Which makes me sad because I was kind of wanting to buy it. But that's one thing that's nice, going to Village Meeple or playing games with 417Gamers. See what they got and see if you really need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The fourth and final game we're going to talk about is Vikings. Is that a Michael Kiesling also?
I don't remember. I know it's an older game.
It is.
Catherine said that she has had it for a while and it was on her decide whether they want to keep it or move it on game list.
Vikings is a 2007 game from Z-Man Games, designed by Michael Kiesling.
There you go.
So, Metagames did a board game drive for Rare Breed, which is a youth program through the kitchen. Mm-hmm. It's for at-risk youth. And they collected quite a few games, and Village Meeple helped out a lot. And it was wonderful that, our local gamers can come together and help some for the causes, because they usually do.
Right. Yeah.
When Extra Life, has their things, the Magic community will do their, and then pre-pandemic, we would try and do 24-hour gaming. We haven't really done that in a while, because trying to, wrangle chickens is tough, especially with gamers and adult gamers that have schedules.
Right.
But... we did some of that, but in Vikings, it has a round market where there are land tiles that you need to purchase that have Vikings around them. And the Vikings are like gold, green, red, gray, black, and blue.
Yeah, they're fishermen or farmers or...
Yep, they have different occupations. So whenever you grab a tile and a Viking... You're trying to... There's a little grid that you're placing. It's tile placement at that point. Mm-hmm. If you place the tile in the appropriate space, so if I put it in the gold column and I took a gold Viking, I can set them up. However, if I place the land in a different row, but I took the Viking of a different color, he just goes up to a holding space at the top. And then I need one of the gray Vikings, which do not go on an island. They're kind of a boatsman that will help you ship your guys down to the islands when they're ready. Mm-hmm. It was interesting, but...
We have so many better tile laying games, I felt like. I did like the market aspect, the wheel, because that changed every turn, and the cost of every tile, depending on your...
you could not
whether
pay
you were
zero
first player
unless... That was the only color of the Viking left.
Yeah.
And as soon as that was purchased, the wheel spun down and everything got cheaper.
I think it was, for a tile laying game, it was a little bit much for a family weight game. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't quite crunchy enough for, our normal game group. Which I think is probably why Catherine was on the fence about keeping it, because it wasn't super crunchy. But it wasn't necessarily lightweight family either. Yeah. It was kind of in a middle ground.
It's in a holding space, yeah. But in 2007, I mean...
Yeah. There was nothing wrong with it. I just have other games in that genre that we like better.
I mean, it's coming upon, 15... Is that 15? I can't do math right now. It's 15-ish years ago. It shows its age in the art... But the mechanics are very interesting. I would like to see that market done in a different game. The tiling, like you said, we have better games, but they're also newer. And it's Michael Kiesling of Azul fame and many other games that we like. And I think he's got better games, and he probably would say so too.
Sure.
That's the 4 games that we've been playing recently. We'll go to the next segment where we talk about our topic of the show, which is learning games.
Yeah.
The One is our topic of the show. And in this episode, we're talking about learning games. Saunsu, you like teaching games, so I'm pretty sure you probably have to learn quite a few.
I have to learn a lot of games.
Just around the horn, Saunsu, what is your preferred learning style?
Reading if it has it, the player aid first, and then going to the rule book.
But are you more visual, auditory, tactile, or like reading, writing?
Tactile.
You're more tactile?
Oh, yeah.
Andrea?
I would rather not play a game than have to read a rule book. If someone is not available to tell me the rules, we're not playing it.
I always do it in a group setting.
Yeah.
That is why I spend so much time at Village Meeple, because we do it as a group, literally.
Right.
Because one of us always has one aspect of what's needed to make sure we get the rule book right.
Nice.
I'm a tactile learner as well. One of my favorite things if we're learning a game, give me the pieces. Let me have something in my hands so I get, whether it's the cards, the pieces, my player board, whatever it is, put something in my hands. Because Andrea can attest, whenever we're watching even movies, I still have something on my phone going, a video game. Yeah. I've thought about picking up like crochet or knitting because my hands need to be doing something.
Yeah.
So, what's the first resource, your preferred resource when you want to learn a game? Do you go straight for the rule book first, or you look for a tutorial?
I prefer to look for a tutorial, and if I were to be absolutely honest, my preferred person is Rodney.
Watch it play.
Yep. He usually explains things very well, easy to understand, doesn't overcomplicate, and doesn't do a whole lot of jumping around, where sometimes they do a lot of jumping around.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of rules teachers now, but Rodney was the first that really popularized it in the hobby, and I think he's still the best.
I would 100% agree.
So yes, I look for his video first, or if it's at work, it honestly doesn't matter to me because I put it on in the background so I can just kind of half-heartedly listen to it as I'm working. And then when I come out, I'm like, I think I know what that was said, and then I'll rewatch it here when I get home, and then Andrea's like, oh, we're going to play the game or go to bed, because a rules video does not keep her attention, and I don't blame her one bit. Do you like to do you mind learning a brand new game with the group, or do you like to primarily have it learned before you bring it to the group?
No, I like learning it with the group because, like I said, everybody is usually good at contributing something because everybody learns in different ways. And so usually if it's done as a group, then I find that I learn everything better. And then once we've played it and learned it, that's when I like to go home and read the rule book, because then the rule book makes more sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
But my first thing is to literally, I like to grab the player aid if there is one, because the player aid will literally kind of spell things out in a lot of ways. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
I must say the absolute best player aid I have ever seen was in Wingspan.
Yeah.
That if everybody copied that would be fabulous. Yes. All games would be so much easier to learn.
And he's been perfecting that. I mean, that was better than his Wingspan. It was better than his Scythe, better than his Euphoria, so on and so forth. He's been doing player aids in all of his games, which is absolutely appreciated. But yeah, the Wingspan player aid is top-notch, one of the best ones.
Well, because it actually offered, here's what you might want to do in your first 2 turns.
Yeah.
To help get you started in the game.
After you played a few games, ignore me and do what you want.
Exactly.
For me, I prefer to have the game learned before I bring it out, or at least have 70% working knowledge. Andrea knows I'm a perfectionist on trying to get stuff down, and it bugs me not to know. And when I mess up a rule, it affects my mood for a little bit. I try and not let it, get me too long, but I get a little pouty for a second. But a lot of the time, whenever we're hosting friends and family, I need to have close to 100% knowledge of the game. So I tend to try and keep it to family weight unless they really want to play a thing. I crashed and burned on a play of Mice and Mystics because I watched the video that day at work. I'm like, oh, I got it. And then we started setting up. I'm like, oh, there's some if-then statements that I need to read the rule book for because I wasn't quite ready.
Yeah.
But in that, but as far as learning, if we're at a convention, absolutely, I'm more than happy to sit with everybody, gamer in mind, knowing that, depending on the weight and the complexity, this might be a rough play, but hopefully we'll get an idea of how the game plays. Mm-hmm. But on a Thursday night, and I know a lot of the people are only going to come out for the first game on a Thursday night.
Right. And
I really don't want to waste their night, because I kind of feel like the Thursdays, I've been one of the big organizers in the group that I'm a host, and I feel like that I need to be a conduit for their enjoyment that night.
Definitely. So, I would agree. So it would 100% depend on the situation.
Sure.
If I'm going into it knowing that I need to know the game because I'm going to be teaching other people, then, I want to know that game inside and out. Yeah. And that's, when having done as many demos and whatnot as I have, that's why I go to my group and I try and make sure if I'm going to be demoing this game, then they're going to help me work out the kinks, and right. I'm using them to make sure I know this game inside and out. But if just going and joining others to play a game, I don't have a problem going into it and like nobody knowing how to play it and everybody learning it together. Yeah. But if I'm going into it and I know I'm the one that's going to have to teach it, 100% I want to know that game. Right. But I always tell everybody, I was like, okay, this is my first time demoing this game, teaching you how to play this game. This is going to be a rough one, but you're going to be my group that is going to help me work all the kinks out, and the next group it'll be that much better.
What do you need? What do you need from a rules teacher to better understand a game? What's a couple things that you absolutely want somebody teaching you? What do you want from them?
Being very concise and walking me, like visually walking me through stuff. That is, I say that I'm a tactile learner, but I'm also a visual. I've done all the wonderful testing because with my job, they always send those personality and learning style tests and da-da-da-da-da. And so I am a even mix between the two of being a visual and a tactile learner. So really, it's explaining things, walking me through it, and actually when you're walking me through it, let me do it. Yeah. Type thing. It's don't do it for me. Let me do it and walk me through it. Yeah. That is the best way for me to learn.
Andrea, what do you like from teachers?
I like to start the game and you walk me through the first play. And then on the second play, I'll try to do it on my own, and you watch me, and if I do something wrong, tell me. But that's how I like to do it.
Understood. Very similar. Like I said, I want the pieces in my hand, and then I want to watch. If you're teaching the game, I really don't want a randomized player order. If it's your game, you're teaching it, and you claim you know it, I want you to take the first turn.
Right.
Doesn't have to be, and I know some people are just like, hey, it says the first person is the person that climbed a mountain or was in nature. You brought the game, show us how a turn goes.
Yep, 100%.
That's a personal, and that goes into pet peeves. That's one of mine right off the top. Take the first turn, please. Your game, you're teaching. Me too. And I don't like going first. But if it's my game and I'm teaching, I'll take the first turn.
Yeah. Why don't you like going first?
I like seeing what other people are doing. I also like hidden points. I like seeing what everybody's in, like sneaking up on them, and or not necessarily turtling in like dudes on a map and area control. On that, I'll just go right up and be chaos and mess with people. But what other pet peeves do you have on teachers?
Those who talk at you. I've seen some, or tried to teach the game and don't really know it. I didn't really experience this head on. Dice Tower West was my absolute first experience demoing.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because I never ever thought I'd be doing that. But my really good friend sat down at the table behind me to learn a game. And unfortunately, sometimes with Envoy, you don't always get your hands on the game until like the night before everything's going down. And some of that's because it's prototypes that they're not getting until late, or something's happened with the manufacturer and they don't even have the copies of the games until, you know, the night before when they bring everything. So it's people not taking the time necessary to learn the game and then to just try and teach it on the fly and get all the rules wrong and completely teach the game incorrectly. Sure. And that's what this lady did. And my friend she grabbed the rule book and she was like, no. That's not, and then she got really defensive. And it's like, don't get defensive if you haven't taken the time to understand the game to teach it properly, because that's what's gonna get people to buy the game. And that's what the publishers want. Right. You know the game so you can properly teach it. And one of the great things about Envoy is that they do typically require you to certify in the game, where you do a Zoom meeting with somebody who is knowledgeable in the game. And you have to show and prove that you know how to play the game, that you know how to teach it.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but sometimes with conventions, things happen and you don't, like, my first demo game was Aqua. It came to me a couple of days before I left, and so I didn't have to certify in it, but you better believe, me being the person that I am, I made sure I knew that game inside and out before I was teaching it. So, but yeah, that is a huge pet peeve, is, not being able to own up to the fact that you don't know the game when you're trying to teach it.
Right.
Yeah. Quite a few Geekways ago, we had a friend that was doing Envoy. And they lost somebody the weekend of Geekway. So one other guy volunteered to teach the game that nobody else really wanted to. And from what I heard, every teach was rough until the last day when he finally got it under him, because I think it was a 4 or 6 page rule book, which doesn't sound like a lot, but some of those are not the greatest translation. And if you've got 4 pages of roughly translated board game lingo, and you don't have well-defined English statements, there's a lot of ambiguities that you've got in there. And you have questions there at the tables. Hey, if I do this, is that legal? Because we're gamers, and we want to game the system. Like, oh, this would get me more points if I can do that.
Oh, yeah.
Can I do this? And they're like, I don't know. And you're flipping through like 4 to 6 pages, and like, well, there's only like 4 to 6 pages. Why can't you find it? Like, well,
they're not always those questions aren't necessarily easy recognizable when you're thumbing through a rule book, and you're in a panic because you don't know the answer to the question, and so you're skimming through everything, but a lot of times you're skimming right over.
Yeah. Right. And then sometimes you just have to shut down and just like read for like a solid 3 to 5 minutes, and everybody's just staring at you, and you're like, go get you a drink. I'll be here in a minute.
Yeah. Well, and like this past Geekway, I demoed Earth. Mm-hmm. And there are some cards in there that, it can get really confusing as to what they really mean. And I would pull it up on my phone to get clarification, because they had a lot of clarification online. Yeah. So,
and they needed to.
Yeah.
Because with Earth, there's a lot of order of operations on there, especially if you got the gridded system. This triggers, then this triggers, and it has to trigger in a certain effect when you have it laid out in a certain way.
Correct.
Rule books are a big one. There are some companies that just do rule books better than others. Stonemaier Games is a shining example. I love to get a Stonemaier rule book. I'll read that front to back, no problem. CGE, Czech Games Edition, that's another one. Theirs are fun to read.
Yeah.
If you ever read Galaxy Trucker, there's some little offhanded jokes in there. But I think that's also, who's that designer on Galaxy Trucker? I would say he's one of my favorites because his games are so different from one another. It has been a long day and I can't think of things. And I will edit this out. Blah, 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 blah. Vlada Shavatal's rule books, he a lot of times will inject little jokes here and there. But CGE across the board makes really good English translated rule books. Starship Captains is one of theirs that is not... I don't remember the designer, but it's Star Trek the game. You have these little guys that you go out and you have to put them in the right spots to activate cards, and red guys do red stuff, blue guys do blue stuff, yellow guys do yellow stuff. And the rule book is just straightforward, easy to find, and there's some of the upgrade cards you might have to do a little reading for.
Yeah.
But it's pretty well defined where everything is, which is pretty nice.
Yeah. Gnome Hollow.
Yeah.
Their rule book is really good. I mean, it was easy, and it has the story in it about the gnomes and how it all. Yeah, it's adorable. You get to know the characters.
And that's Levity Games. What else do they do?
Yeah, that one I really enjoyed reading through that rule book.
They've only got a few games listed on BGG. They've got Twinkle Twinkle, Taco, which is Taunt, Attack, something and something. It's an acronym. Taunt, Attack, Conquer, Obsess.
Sounds like gamers.
Yeah. So, yeah, learning games. I like learning games when I can. And man, does it really harm a game and push it to a pile of possibilities if I can't learn it that quick.
Yeah. I would say the worst rule book I have had to deal with so far in demoing was Life of the Amazonia.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that game. Love the game. But the rule book is not conducive at all. You cannot easily find things in it. Its stuff is all over the place. But if they had just made the rule book better, because it wasn't a hard teach, and I had to, at Gen Con, I had to teach 3 tables at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Gosh.
A while ago, Stronghold was that way for me on a couple. Panamax, I had to pull the ripcord 2 or 3 times. Then I sold the game without playing it all the way through. We've played it recently, and Panamax is actually a pretty good game, but that rule book is not good.
Yeah.
And the original translation of Kanban, that's Vita Lacerda. Making cars and in a big factory and trying to make points. The original version of that rule book wasn't horrible, but I struggled to get through that one. But that is learning games.
This is correct.
Let's go on to the 7, where we talk about 7 memorable games that we learned. You're listening to the 417Gamer podcast, and there's multiple ways to follow us. You can follow us through the Libsyn website at hobbygamingnetwork.libsyn.com. Follow us on Spotify. Search Hobby Gaming Network or 417Gamer Podcast. Find us there. On Instagram, we are Hobby Gaming Network. On YouTube, follow us with the 417Gamer channel. And, of course, if you'd like to direct any show notes and any comments to us, facebook.com/Hobby Gaming Network. Let's get back on with the 7. The 7 in the 417 Gamers is 7 of a category, and we're talking about memorable games that we have learned. I'm going to start us off with number 7, Euphoria, Build a Better Dicetopia. This is designed by Jamie Stegmaier. This is one of his first 2 games he designed. It was a Kickstarter. Came out, I want to say, about 2013. This is the first game I hit my gaming ceiling at the time.
Yeah.
I had just joined the 417 Gamer, or wasn't even named that at the time. It was just a game group that joined at Metagames. This was before they remodeled the store into what it is now. It used to be to the east side of the building, and the west side was the dilapidated Hollywood Video that went out of business, and it was just empty shelves. They owned the whole building, but they didn't quite have enough money to remodel it to what it is today. So we met over there, played games, and one of the guys in the group got his Kickstarter of Euphoria. He was like, "Oh, you want to play?" And it had like velvet-lined bit trays and really nice resources. Because I think it was like Game Trays, one of their first games they did something with Stonemeyer. I'm like, "Oh, that looks great." And then he taught it to us. And at that point, I think I'd played like Catan, Ticket to Ride, Carcassonne.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cutthroat Caverns was like the most complicated game, or maybe Zombicide, which Zombicide is take 3 actions and you just have to, you know. But Euphoria is a worker placement where you're using dice as the workers. And it's a dystopia, but they call it a dicetopia for the, you know, the dad joke in there. But you place your dice out there as your workers. Whenever you recall them, you roll them. Whatever they roll, that is their intelligence level. Depending on how happy they are, if they become too smart above their happiness level, which is just the sum of their numbers, they become disenchanted with the dystopia that you're creating and you lose a worker. So there's a lot going on. And it's punishing if you do too well on your rolls. And I tend to roll high. So already the game was a little complicated for what I was doing. And then in most worker placements, getting more workers is better than not. And that's what I was told. So I followed that rule. And I kept on trying to get more and more dice. But the more dice you get, when you roll them, you have a lot more chance to roll too happy and lose your people. And there's a lot of resources to get more people. Very fun game. I came back to it a couple months later after I had some more gaming lingo and knowledge in my belt, and it is a very good game. But at that time, I hit my ceiling, and when I left, I was, I don't know if I want to play that ever again. Let's see here. Number 6, Saunsu.
Would be Mycelia. Mycelia, it's just, its rule book was easy. It's absolutely adorable, and I love deck builders. There is one card that's in there that we just crack up when we see it. It's a little mushroom on a swing, and it actually says, "Hoo-wee!" So it's a game that just makes you smile. It's not overly complicated. It's easy to teach, easy to play. You have it set, you have your board, and you have a pattern in which you have to place dewdrops on. Another aspect of it that is adorable is the dewdrop shrine. Mm-hmm. So once you remove dewdrops based on the cards that you're playing, they go to the shrine. Once the shrine is full, you spin it, and they all come rushing out. And you have a card that tells you, okay, if the dice that comes out is this, then you have to add 2 dewdrops to your grid in this place and this place. Or if there's only one of those symbols, then you have to add 2 dewdrops to that same spot. So it's a very adorable game. It's easy to learn, it's easy to teach, and it's cute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Andrea, we're going to go with number 5.
Wingspan. We had not been dating that long, and all of the games that you had introduced me to were light level family weight games.
Yeah.
And we had gone to your grandmother's house for Thanksgiving, I believe.
Christmas.
And your uncle had brought a bag of games, and Rick's like, "You want to play a game?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then he pulled out Wingspan, and I was like, "Whoa." And he starts going over the rules. I'm like, "Ooh, you lost me a long time ago." And they're like, no, you get it as we play. And as we played, I kept getting it wrong, and what's funny about that is the action where you either go down a column or run across a column, as far as paying your eggs and stuff. Because that first time we played, I did it wrong so many times, I still part of my brain thinks that's how you're supposed to do it. And every once in a while, I'll still fall back and do that wrong. Rick's like, no, that's not how you do it. And I was like, oh, dang it. But because that first time, but yeah, I floundered that first teach. But everyone was super patient with me, and I finally got there.
You did.
Yeah, don't feel bad, Andrea. I was the same way.
Yeah.
They totally lost me on that when I'm like, what? No.
Yeah.
What? Oh, you're not doing that. Oh, all right.
Okay.
Number 4 is Concordia, and it is my favorite game of all time, but I would say for probably the first 10 to 12 plays, I was not playing it correctly, and we got corrected in the game group at least 4 or 5 times. So when you're playing, the last player in turn order gets a card called the Perfectus Magus. Whenever you take the prefect action, you get a bonus of whatever the best good in a region that you're activating. When you prefect and you have that card, you have to use it. We were not playing with that rule. We were allowing people to sit on it and not pass it off. So that was one rule. And then there was another rule that we were playing wrong, is when somebody ends the game, everybody else gets to take a turn, but whoever ended it does not. It ends after everybody else takes a turn. We were playing... There was a game at the time that everybody got to play again, including that player. I don't remember what it was, but we played them back to back. And since we had played it that way, we played that incorrectly for about 4 or 5 games. And it wasn't until I think we went to Geekway, and somebody goes, what did you do? I'm like, blah, blah, blah. He's like, no. Whoever ends it, they get the bonus card.
Yeah.
And then everybody else gets their final turn, and that's it. So it took, about 10 to 12 times for me to get it completely 100% correct. But even played wrong, I loved the game. Number 3 is Saunsu.
Would be Gnome Hollow. It's just aesthetically beautiful, and it's very memorable. Its rule book is very cute because it gives you a lot of backstory about how they decided to develop the game based on the experience of the person who was going out into the meadow and not believing that he was seeing these gnomes doing this stuff and all this and that, and that's how the game ended up coming to be, and just the experience. So the rule book is really, really adorable and fun to read through. You're not just, reading rules, you're reading a story as well. Yeah. And then it's tile placement. I absolutely love tile placement. Give me Planet Unknown, Tangram City, Cascadia, Gnome Hollow, anything where I'm putting pieces and connecting it and all that kind of stuff, and I'm a happy person.
You probably would have liked our game day at Metagames, because every single one of those 4 games had a tile laying aspect to them.
Yeah, I need to get back out.
Yeah. Hey, time and scheduling. We fit them in when we can. Number 2 for me is Kingdom Builder. This is the first game I learned from watching a playthrough. Will Wheaton's Tabletop. He had 3 or 4 seasons on YouTube. Really entertaining. He had a lot of the YouTube celebrities of the time came on and played games with him, his friends. And it was an issue for my wallet because every month I found a new game I had to go buy. And I got burned on a couple of them because whatever looked good on TV didn't necessarily run real well with my friends. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, well, they had fun on the YouTubes. Well, we're not. I'm sorry. But yeah. And then number 1.
That for me, that would be Terraforming Mars. Again, it was another, that was the heaviest game that I had played at that point. And we had gone to a friend's house, and they were having a game day, and it was a full 5 players, I believe, with all the expansions, and I was so overwhelmed. And our friend Catherine, she was trying to help me, but basically she was saying, okay, She was telling me the best things to do for the most points, but I didn't understand why I was doing those things. So basically she was just telling me, now move here, do that. Okay, next. But I had no idea why I had done those things. So then the next time we went to play with another set of friends, I didn't have Catherine there to tell me what to do. So I really, really struggled with that playthrough. And I was like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to learn how to play this game. So I downloaded the app on my phone, and I just played it over and over and over until I got every nuance of that game right. And then I was like, okay, come on, let's play that game again.
We need to find some friends so we can go play Terraforming Mars.
Right.
And then her and the other two friends kicked the crap out of me, and I was down there in like the 30s, and they're all in the 60s, 70s, 80s points. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Those are 7 memorable learning games for all of us. Saunsu, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
We're going to have you on the next episode where we'll have you go and talk about your 7 favorite games. But until then, we'll see you next episode. Goodbye!
Bye.
The 417Gamer podcast is created and recorded by Rick Bagwell and Andrea Smith. The music we use for our intro, Kind, Gentle, Beautiful Person, and our outro, Making Up for Lost Time, was created by Origami Replica. For links to the music and our show notes and to any of our guest info, head over to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Hobby Gaming Network. And until the next episode, keep gaming in the 417.